Hello everybody, it's Jenny McGarvey and I am sharing with you today my week 29 of my Project Life album. And as you can see, I'm not wasting any time getting started. I have all my photos printed already and I'm going to start trimming them all up and throwing them down as I go. Now this is a week in July and it's a really fun one and there's a lot going on. So it was a pretty fun week to document. And you'll see here how I'm just sort of getting started with all my different photos. Lots of summery photos, which is so fun. I really do love summer a lot. It's so much fun to scrapbook as well. Now, the fun thing about putting together my Project Life spreads or my pocket pages is that I get to choose all these fun things that go along with it. Now I'm using mostly the Scraptastic Kit Club This Life Noted kit from July. I will throw in a few added things from my stash, but I'm mostly sticking with the kit. Now I'm going through those 3x4 cards trying to find a couple that will work well in that lower left-hand 4x6 slot, which yes, I often do this. I add two 3x4 cards in a 4x6 slot instead of using a 4x6 photo or a 4x6 card. This works good for me because I tend to use a lot of 4x6 cards, and so I run out of them very quickly. It doesn't even make any difference which kit it is, which company, or anything like that, because it's just my style. It's not the company's issue at all. The same thing is true for the Becky Higgins core kits. I run out of the 4x6s that really work well. My style lends itself to using a lot of 4x6 cards, either for filler or to back smaller photos. So using the two 3x4s in that slot works well for me. Now I planned this week forgetting that I actually had used a different page protector on this left side. Because the previous week I had used a page protector that had the 4 4x6 slots and then 3 4x4 in the middle. I believe it's a We Are Memory Keepers page. I kind of forgot, and I had planned it so that I would have 2 photos and 2 journaling or filler cards. But so that now I had to sort of rethink my plan and trim some things up, get out some patterned paper, go through my Studio Gold cards so that I could make it all work. But it all turned out fantastic and there was just absolutely no worries there. So as you can see here, I'm adding a few alphabet stickers from that July Scraptastic Kit Club kit, and I'm spelling out the word home because that is the front stoop of my house with those flowers, and it's definitely one of my most favorite parts of our home. Now I'm also pulling out there were these fantastic wood veneer that looked like label stickers, which were so fun and cool in a couple of different shapes and a couple of different sizes, and those were really fun, and I wanted to add that right there. But then of course I decided against it because I often do. I like to keep things really simple, and so I often end up taking things out as opposed to adding things later. Occasionally I add things later, but mostly I take things off. The rub-on is a good compromise because it does not take away from the photo, and it's not a very heavy embellishment. It's very light. You actually can hardly notice it at all. So it works well for me. I don't know if you've ever used these Chic Tags rub-ons before. These are the ones from the Let's Go collection, but I love the Chic Tags rub-ons. They go on so smooth. They're very, very easy to use. They don't pull onto the backing or anything like that. So if you have not tried them, I recommend that you do. I really like the Chic Tags ones a lot. Now as you can see, I've completed one of those 4x4s, but I still have the center to find a filler and then do that right one as well. That is the baseball bat, which my oldest son had gotten a new bat this week, so that's why I have that picture right there. And if you look closely, you can see it's the new bat, and then you can also see how it's sort of sticking out of his baseball bag. So that's pretty fun also. Now, like I said, I'm also looking for not only patterned paper, but I'm also pulling from that Studio Gold collection as well from We Are Memory Keepers and Teresa Collins. I really enjoy how those all go together, and it's kind of fun to have that black down the center. Now I needed to trim that photo of the baseball bat a little bit because it was printed as a 3x4, thinking that it was going to go in the 3x4 slot, but since it's going to go in a 4x4 slot, I just needed to trim it down a little bit so that it would fit on that 4x4 card a little bit better. Now I can use one of the little cardstock labels that came in the Scraptastic kit, and then I used my tiny attacher to attach it to the card and the photo, and then I'm just going to journal the tiniest bit on top of there. I mostly do my journaling by hand. I don't do a whole lot on the computer. Actually, I don't ever do it on the computer. And I go in phases where I use the typewriter. So I feel like the typewriter is maybe coming. I'm sort of leaning for the simplicity in the typewritten word. It's not easier to use the typewriter, but it looks neater on the page. Now, as you can see, one of those in that lower slot was a journaling card, which is exciting. I do love to journal right on my cards and do quite a bit of journaling as well, because the whole reason that I do Project Life is really truly to document the every day. Since I still do 12 by 12 scrapbooking, I can use maybe more creativity there and do some different techniques and things there. And so then in my Project Life, it's truly just to document the everyday. Now, I already created the black journaling lines on this card, which if you've ever watched one of my videos before, I do almost every single week. I just love the contrast that the black lines give. And then obviously it lends itself to neater journaling since I don't have to worry about slanting up or slanting down. Or I don't have to worry about pencil and then erasing lines or things of that nature. So I'll just go ahead and finish up my journaling on this card, and then I'll slip it right back into place. Now I'm looking for a way to use that July card to document which week this is. I often use an arrow, and this week is no exception. And in fact, I'm using a Freckled Fawn paper clip, and what I really like about those is that you can still see behind it, so you can see the dates and stuff like that. So I like how those look a lot. And then the lightness, they don't take very much weight, visual weight, excuse me, on that card as well. Now, as you can see, this page is really starting to come together, and I wanted to add something fun to that 4x6 card down there at the bottom, and I really love the custom cut-aparts that Caitlin Schaefer designs for the Scraptastic Kit Club, and this little tag was so fun, and I really just felt like I absolutely had to use it. And then an added bonus, it has a few little journaling lines on it so that I can add just the tiniest bit of journaling for this specific card, or photo, excuse me. Okay, so now I use my tiny attacher. I had already adhered it, as you saw, so it didn't actually need the tiny attacher for adhesive purposes, just really for decoration and to sort of make it all tied together really well. Now I'm going to use some of those enamel dots that came in the kit. I believe that they're Simple Stories. They're gold and silver and black and white, I believe. And I just liked how it dressed up this one a little bit more. And then I also really like that they kind of represent like splashes or water drops or bubbles for the water as well. So the enamel dots are sort of multi-purpose. Now I'm using this really fun photo of my son jumping in the pool. I love using these for weeks like this. And I'm going to go ahead and spell out bonsai on this card. It's one of the things my kids yell when they jump into the pool, which is super funny. And go ahead and write that out with those alphabet stickers as well. I love how they really stand out on that photo and you can really see them, as the photo is super cute, and then also documenting that they say this when they jump in the pool is pretty cool too. I like to keep my pocket pages pretty simple. I don't like to go crazy, and a lot of people do, and that's totally okay. For me, like I said already, I do 12 by 12 scrapbooking still, so I don't feel the need, but I like to dress the pages up a little bit too. So there's a happy medium, and for me, I still err on the side of simple, but I like to make it a little bit interesting as well. So hopefully you like looking at those style of pages, since that's what I mostly do. I don't go too crazy with embellishments or layering or anything like that, because I feel like I can do that a little bit more in my traditional scrapbook pages. Now I had to pull out a little piece of 6 by 6 patterned paper. I think that it was Pink Paisley, that Hello Sunshine collection, and just so that I could use that All-Star Game photo. And then I'm going to also add the custom little cut apart, the stars that Caitlin Schaefer designed. It's pretty cool, like a little play on words for all-star and then the stars and the cut apart, which is very fun. And this was a big deal at my house. I think my son even actually had some friends over to watch the All-Star Game. My kids are all very, very into baseball, so something like this is just completely right up their alley. Now, I also want to do a little bit of journaling on this card because, again, I want to remember that my friends, or my son had some friends over and that they were really into it and that it was super fun and stuff like that. So I'll go ahead and just add a little bit of journaling to this particular card. There's probably a better way I could have made it all work, and it would have maybe gone together a little bit better, because I'm not exactly sure that I love how this particular card turned out, but it's really fine. And the bottom line is that I got the story told, and you know, it's perfectly okay. So not every card has to be my favorite. Now I will also sprinkle a few wood veneer stars as well, again with the play on words of the All-Star Game. I use a tiny little thermal web tape runner to adhere my wood veneer. It goes on really super easy, and then it also helps them stick, but you can use a lot of different things for adhering wood veneer. That's just what works best for me. So now I'll pull out my other template so I can start working on the right side, and this one is a traditional A design with the 4 4x6 and the 4 3x4 cards as well. I did use more of the smaller photos, multiples in one little 4x6 slot. So again, in that one I will need another 4x6 backing, since I'm going to be missing that. And so now I'm just trimming up the rest of my photos that I had already printed on my Canon Selfie printer, and I'll trim them up and I'll get them into place on my template so that we can see where they're going to go and what we have to work with. Obviously, I'm sort of in a phase where I'm using a lot of smaller photos, and it works because in the summer when I have so many photos and so many things to document, I can really get a lot more photos. And maybe there are even things that I wouldn't use on a 12 by 12 page, so I can still tell the stories of what we did that particular week a little bit more in depth, but I don't have to just use one photo. I can use more than one. So now I'm going to go through the stash, and I'm choosing out the cards that I'm going to use, and you can see I've already got a couple down there, and I'm really excited about using the Be the Good. I really liked that card a lot, and then that dot one is probably my favorite one in the whole kit. I love the colors, I love the dots, and they really do work perfectly for the baseball theme, and the overall design is just really very pleasing to me. So now I used that smaller photo that I had trimmed up right on top of that 3x4 card, and I'm sort of trying to decide what I'm going to do with it. Sometimes I have like a small inkling of what I'll do, but not completely. So sometimes I have to sort of go through my supplies and see what I've got and things like that before I can decide exactly what I will do with a particular slot. Now, as you can see, I'm going to work a little bit more with those cut-aparts. We were really lucky. They were all really usable for me this month, and I really liked how they look very much. And so I'm going to use that smaller one, and I don't always even know how to use those, but this one was super easy to use, and figure out how I'm going to put that on that 4x6 card with those two smaller photos. Now, I use an app on my iPhone called Frame, I believe, and that's how I print out smaller photos on one 4x6. I don't always, like for those, that would be 4 on a page. I don't always fill up the entire page because I maybe don't need those photos right now, but a lot of times if I can, I'll see if I can work them all together and print out a full page of different sized and smaller photos. Now I'm going through my stash of 4x6 cards, and the pickings are pretty slim because obviously I have a fairly specific color scheme, and so I have to stick with that. And so I'm looking for things that would match that color family from that polka dot card, the green, the orange, yellow, and that reddish, slightly pink, but mostly red card. Now I found that one, the ombre striped green one at the top, and then that other one with the triangles, it's a We Are a Memory Keepers, and it's got a couple of different shades of green and then white and like sort of a corally red pink, and so that does go well with that other one. Now on that lower left-hand one, I used one of my very favorite stamps from Elise Cripe, and I just went ahead and stamped it right directly on top of the photo, and I used black StazOn ink for that. Sometimes I do slip a little bit because the photos are very glossy, but you know, it's okay, and it's still totally readable, and it doesn't look messed up or anything like that, so it's no big deal at all. Now I'm going to go ahead and adhere these two smaller photos down onto that We Are Memory Keepers 4x6 card, and get those all up and running and good. And then I'm going to play around a little bit more with that square cut apart and see where I'd really like to have that. I adhere it down and then sort of go through my stash, and because I remembered that I have some Scraptastic wood veneer that is in the shape of an ice cream cone, and since these pictures, excuse me, are from having frozen yogurt, it would work out just fine to use those. So I'm going to go ahead and look for those in my stash. Now there is that wood veneer ice cream cone, which is so cute, and it doesn't quite fit how I had it there, so I'm just going to pull it up and then move it up. I believe it did tear that card just a tiny bit, but it's totally fine because I can just cover it up with the wood veneer. So I'm really not worried about that at all. And the wood veneer is so cute, and it really goes perfectly and adds just a little bit more fun to this particular card and the entire page, and really sets the tone of fun and whimsical along with the rest of the supplies that I already have out. Now I'm using this fun little cursive stamp, I guess they call it script these days or whatever, not cursive, that says Yum. And it's super cute and goes perfectly with that card. I'm going to pack those stamps up and get them out of the way so I can get to work a little bit more. Now I am going to pull out some different things to use on that 4x6 card. As you can see, I have some small basic gray alphabet stickers, and it's going to be kind of a tone-on-tone thing. They're sort of a light green, and they just go really well with that particular card. And I'm not putting them in a straight line. I often get messed up when I put things in straight lines and then they don't look good. So what works best for me is to just sort of make them all off center, up, down, below, centered, you know, all of that. And then they just look fun and whimsical, and I really like that a lot. So now I'm going to work on that top left 4x6 card and adhere these two photos of my sons right there at the top. And then I'm going to use a stamp that looks like the top of a piece of notebook paper with the little, as you can see, I'm laying it out to make sure it's going to look good. And I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it to the block and then get out the ink. I'm using a VersaFine, which I do probably 85 to 90% of the time. It just always works super well for me. So I've got that stamped out right there, as you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and use my trusty old pen and just do my little bit of journaling there. But I'm going to do that after I use those green stickers that I already used before. Now, like I said at the very beginning of this video, most of the supplies for this particular layout are from the July Scraptastic Kit Club This Life Noted kit. I did throw in a few things from my own stash, but really not very many. Most of the kit is just really so packed full of items that I don't even have to draw from my stash. certainly not for the first couple of weeks that I use it. Maybe a little bit more at the end of the third week or the fourth week, but you really could get a whole month's worth of goodness out of these particular kits. They're really very full. Now I want to try a cut apart on here, but it doesn't really work out for me. So I'm going to go ahead and use some more of those Chic Tags rub-ons. I'm going to use 2 different ones. And like I said, I really love these. They go on very smooth, and they just are really, really wonderful to use. They don't remind me at all of old school rub-ons that sometimes got stuck to stuff or were hard to use or didn't rub off right or whatever. These are just exactly how you want them to be. And then plus the designs are super cute too. Now I'll cut off that cute little camera and then add that one as well. And then I have a few more details to fill in on the rest of the cards, but this one will be complete. Okay, so now I'm going to finally commit to whatever it is I'm going to do with this particular smaller card for that 3x4. And I've got that down, and then that 3x4 card has that little white strip on it that you could use for journaling, or, I mean, really, you could use it for just about anything. I'm going to go ahead and pull out some stamps, Scraptastic stamps that came in a This Life Noted kit a couple of months ago, and they are just absolutely favorites of mine. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I have used them several times before because I just really like how they look. And I'm going to go ahead and spell out Bat Boy, and using that same thing that I did earlier with the alphabet stamps, just sort of mixing them up, making them crazy, not trying to line them up, because then when they look that I'm not able to line them up, then they don't look bad. So just going with a fun, whimsical feel, keeping it a little bit light, and it really works out super well for me. Now, once I finish this spread is actually pretty darn close to being completed. I'll draw some journaling lines, add the tiniest bit of journaling, and use my iPhone to find a specific date for that left-hand center photo, the one of the baseball field. But really, honestly, then the spread is about done. And as you can see, it really only took me less than an hour to put the whole layout together. And, you know, I was keeping it fairly simple, but it works for me and it works really well. Now this is the card that I'm going to draw the journaling lines on and do the journaling. Telling a little bit more about this particular weekend, which was a weekend of baseball and a weekend of travel. Plus my cousin was here visiting, so there was a lot to say, and putting it all in one card can be a little bit difficult. But as you can see, I had a little bit more journaling up on that top left-hand card as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my look at week 29 of my project life, or my pocket pages and my pocket scrapbooking, and I hope you will stop by and watch my next video as well. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day.